I'm gonna go into what used to be the Imperial Villa. So Nikko still is a very popular tourist place to go. And for a long time, it was very popular among Westerners living in Japan during the Meiji Era. And the Imperial family also has a villa here. So the villa can almost be thought of as like a mini imperial palace. So much of the structure was originally part of a building owned by the Tokugawa clan. However, when the Edo period ended, a lot of their properties was seized by the emperor. And so then this building was taken apart and rebuilt here. Those originally Edo period buildings that they moved here from Tokyo were then later expanded upon during the Taisho era. So that's why you see a mixture of designs, is that there was the Edo period style mixed with Meiji, Taisho, and also some Western design elements were added into. So this entire complex could be thought of as like a mini palace because they had to entertain and they had large entourages. So that's part of why it is so large. This is also the largest of the imperial villas, coming in at 106 rooms. Generally, one side of the villa was occupied by the emperor and his family, and the other side would be occupied by the follow-alongs, the members of the court that would be, well, part of the entourage, I guess is the best word. Here we actually have a really nice map of the place. So this red area here, so this was part of Akasa Detached Palace. So this was that Edo residence that was owned by the Tokugawas that they moved here in the Meiji period. The green part is additions that they built on at first. Then the blue part is the Kobayashi clan summer residence. So they were the original owners of this property, if I remember correctly, or the owners before the Imperial Family. Now, the brownish areas, these were built during the Meiji Era construction project. Then the yellows, those were added from between 1901 and 1917. And then the purple areas were during that last phase in the Taisho era when they did a major renovation. So here we can see a break-up of the palace areas. So this was the emperor's public area. This is where he received people, had audiences. Guess he liked billiards because there's a billiards room. The purple section here is the emperor's private quarters. So living room, study, bedroom, an observation room, worship room. This area here was the private quarters for the emperor and the empress. So like the imperial family sitting room, the dining room, waiting room, sitting rooms for ladies in waiting. Then this area here is actually for the quarters for the ladies in waiting. This is for higher officials, so let's see, Minister of the Imperial Household, Imperial Films Withdrawing Room, Chief of Aide-de-Camp, Chamberlains, Board of Chamberlains. So these are high-ranking guys. And then this is more of the lower-ranked subjects. So like physicians, junior civil officers, servants, supply bureau, all of that. And one of the interesting things I was reading over there is that the types of carpets change depending on the use of the room. So one thing about these large reconstruction projects is they actually kind of help to maintain the craftsmanship and the ability to do things traditionally among architects, carpenters, craftsmen in Japan. Like a lot of this work, it's expensive, it's a lot of handwork, and so oftentimes these might be some of the only projects for people trained in this. So this would have been the dining room. This is where visiting dignitaries and invited guests would have come to eat. So I didn't know this, but according to what I just read, billiards was actually a very popular game for the Imperial family since the Meiji Era. And so there was a billiards room. This here is the waiting room. You see what I was talking about earlier? It's got a nicer, more complex carpet. And then here is the audience chamber. So this is where the emperor would meet dignitaries and other invited guests, important visitors. He would sit at that chair. There was the table. I believe at this point the emperor wore Western clothing. So right there, once again, that's where the emperor would sit, the audience chamber. They also had this sliding door here. I wonder if this was for passing stuff to him, passing in and out, like documents or things, so that the servant or whoever was bringing it didn't actually have to enter the room. I'm not quite sure. But you know, when you gotta go, you gotta go. Actually, it looks like they have a bath right here, so I guess you could take a bath right before going in. Yeah, old-timey bathroom. This was the emperor's study. Once again, you can look at the carpet. That tells you that it's a higher ranked room. And has a nice view out down to a pond, the garden. You can also see that there is a lot more elaborate artwork. So this would have been the worship room. I guess there'd been a small shrine in here. Once again, also has a nice view. Now I'm up on the second floor. This room, and I'm actually guessing it's gonna be in that storage space there, is where the sacred sword and the sacred jewel would have been stored when the Imperial family was here for a long trip. So the sacred sword and the sacred jewel are two of the three Imperial treasures. The other one is a mirror. At that time, they wouldn't have kept them too far away, some of them from, at least one or two of them, too far from the emperor. Here's a waiting room. This is probably for servants. And then back there, that would have been the emperor's bedroom. Now, there is a third floor here, which is up there. And that goes to an observation room, or observation deck, I guess. But that's not open for us. So we're not going up there. Alright, so here we get a good look at the roof. Now, one thing about the roof is they actually use smaller tiles than was normal for the time period. And part of this was, well, I think it was a little bit of a show of money and power, because I'm guessing it takes longer to do the smaller tiles, and it was supposed to make it look more elegant and that you could create more of a flowing pattern. Once again, we have a waiting room, and then back there would have been and they translate it to living room. So this is where the emperor would spend most of his time when he was here. This is where he would also do his official job, and official duties would be carried out here. One thing about the villa is it has a lot of magnificently painted doors. Wide variety of themes. Flowers does seem to be common. People, scenes out of mythology. Like, this is a really cool one with the blossoms and the moon. Apricot blossoms. And then this one, we got the crane. We've got, I think this is from a Noah. It looks like something out of a Noah drama. Actually, here we kind of are able to get a peek of the living room. Once again, lots of shelves. This one's cool. Ooh, the windows are going to make the light hard in here to film. So this first room here, would be the waiting room. And then the next one there, that would be the dining room for the emperor and empress. So you notice it has glass windows to give them a good view of the garden. So one thing that's fun about this villa is just the mix. So you have chandeliers, you have carpet, you have traditional Japanese design, sliding doors. Most of it is carpeted. There's a few areas that are not. For example, we've already gone up and seen where the Emperor's bedroom is. So in private, up in his bedroom and stuff, the Emperor actually wore Japanese clothes. I'm not sure which one they were talking about, probably the majority of them, but wore Western clothes in public. So he actually had a very traditional style bedroom, as you'll notice, and he didn't have any lights or electricity in there as he slept with candlelight. The dressing room for the Empress also used tatami mats. And then over here we have a bathroom. Now this would have been an imperial style bathroom, which used hot running water. You'll notice that this area also has tatami mats. So this would have been a sitting room for high-ranking ladies in waiting. This would also have been a sitting room for higher-ranking ladies in waiting. And then this here would be the Empress's living room. So this is where she would spend most of her time when in residence at the villa. So it looks like the Empress's bedroom would be through that door there. I don't know much about the Empress's lives and their duties, what they did. Probably because I'm a dude. But they certainly did very separate living arrangements for the Emperor and Empress here in Japan. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's so your wife doesn't complain when you bring some of the concubines around. It's good to be the king. Or, in this case, it's good to be the Emperor. These are clothing closets. That's quite a few closets. My wife would love that. She'd still probably fill them and be like, I need more space. So the ladies in waiting were divided among the juniors, and this would have been their dining room as I'm passing the bathroom. And then this would have been the dining room for the senior ladies in waiting. This is the Imperial Family sitting room. It was where the Empress would receive guests. It was basically her version of the audience chamber, and it was considered the second most important room after the audience chamber. You can notice very similar, has quite a big alcove, shelves and stuff. I imagine that there were some type of decorations up there. Oh, can't go over there. No desk here, although there might have been, like there was for the Emperors. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like you can slide that open for handing things through. Like the Empress Quarter, the Empress Quarter has a second floor. However, she didn't sleep up there like the Emperor did. I guess the Emperor sleeps above everybody else too. Yeah, I don't know what's up there. I don't remember from the map. It showed earlier. Another sitting room for ladies in waiting. They had a ton of sitting rooms for the ladies in waiting. I also wonder how many ladies in waiting they had. Probably a lot. So we can't go up there right now, but they have a little bit here about the observation room. Oh, looks like maybe you could have gone up this winter. Anyways, so the observation is the third floor that I talked about, near the Emperor's bedroom. So it's sort of styled after a tea room. Probably actually was a really nice place to have tea. Round decorative windows, metalwork. They also found that this was one of those places where the imperial chrysanthemum was covering the Tokugawa mon. And they also point out that 100 years ago, the trees would not have been as tall, so you might have been able to see more of the mountains. So with your ticket, you can also go into the gardens, which sometimes you could see out of the window when I was walking around the villa. In fact, the villa's gardens used to be larger. Some of them are now part of the botanical garden here in Nikko. And that parking lot used to be part of the villa too, so that was where they kept their horses and such. So up there you can see the observation tower that I mentioned that we can't currently go up into. And then there's the dining room. And so lots of windows here to be able to look out at the garden, which is actually pretty nice. Actually, it must look really nice in fall with all the leaves changing color. There's lots of maple around here. Kind of interesting now to look at it again from a different perspective. Yeah, there's a good look at the observation room. So it's styled after a tea room, which I think it sounds like a nice place to have tea. I feel this stream is a really nice touch. You know, the flowing of the water, the sound of that like micro waterfall, also the water plants and it acting as irrigation. Adds a really nice touch to the garden. Now, I don't know if they would have actually spent time out in the garden, the members of the nobility, or if it was still at that time period more of a, oh, you're inside and you look out at the garden. During World War II, the Crown Prince was actually evacuated here to the Imperial Villa in Nikko because, well, Tokyo was being bombed. So, like most buildings from that time period, they had to build bomb shelters. There's actually some over there too, and then there's this one which looks like it was the closest. So it looks like down, so you go down and then you take a right. So a lot of times they don't want a straight on door because if there's a bomb blast close by, then the shrapnel and the force will fly out here and strike the wall instead of the door. You want the door to be more safe because you don't want it, you know, blowing off its hinges or coming in. Naturally, you can't go in. Pretty much you can never go into the bomb shelters here in Japan. So that would be the entrance door, so down to the right. And then this looks like the inside. Yeah, actually it looks nicer than some of the ones I've been into. I was in one at Pine Gardens in Hualien. You can go down into it. That was probably a bit more simple and more hastily constructed. Yeah, it feels like Taiwan a lot of times. You can go down to the bomb shelters. Japan, you usually can't. I don't think I've been inside one yet here. I hope you enjoyed this tour of the Imperial Villa at Nikko. I did. It's quite an interesting building. It's 600 yen for entrance. You can go around inside. They actually have quite a bit of English, so it's easy to understand. If you don't speak Japanese, they have an English brochure. And it also gives you access to the gardens that you can walk around. So, if you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, I really hope you'll subscribe. If you're watching, I really hope I earned your like. And please go down to the comment section. Tell me what you found interesting here, some of your favorite parts, and I will see you in the next one.